this brings up the South Carolina shooting, yes. Because what a lot of people there in particular said is that we finally have evidence of what we've been saying has been happening for so long. So are there parallels to be drawn here, or is that too much of a stretch?
There's evidence in a lot of these situations. There's evidence with Eric Gardner. There is evidence here in Los Angeles on quite a few cases I can think of involving the LAPD. The question is, what happens with that evidence? So what we saw in South Carolina was sort of unprecedented, right? We had someone who actually said, look, this is wrong, we're going to take immediate action.
Instead of, we'll do an investigation.
Right, and then 8, 9, 10 months later come back and say, usually nothing. Chief Beck. But, you know, I hope other police departments, particularly here in Los Angeles, are looking at what happened in South Carolina and saying, maybe we need to rethink how we do this. One of the things the sheriff said today in San Bernardino was that the cops were getting a lot of threatening emails and this and that. And it's like, it's very interesting because I'm sure that's happening in South Carolina, and they still did what they did.
They named the officer.
They did.
Now, let me ask you this. Is it fair to say that what we saw in that pursuit that Tony just showed us, with all the residents coming out of their homes and high-fiving the driver and making sure he doesn't get shot by the police, that's a direct result of all of these kinds of incidents, is it not?
It is. And first, I will say this. Those people are not idiots. Those people went out because in South LA, people know that things tend to happen with the LAPD and situations like chases or whenever the police is involved. And so it doesn't matter if it's a chase or something that happened in an apartment building or a house on the block. People are going to come out and they're going to watch. People in the community are very vigilant about this sort of stuff. And thank goodness that they are, because that's how we get all of these videos. That's how we're able to prove that certain things happen or didn't happen exactly the way the police said it happened. And I was just a little disturbed when all of the chase was going on, because a lot of people were calling the residents of South LA idiots, and they're not idiots.
Well, a lot of them.
Nobody here is using that.
No,
term.
not here.
But we did see some of them, you know, taking selfies, taking photos in front of the car going by, just obviously trying to be part of the action. It was a big story. It went on for hours, and they were watching it on TV, and they ran outside. But, you know, we did hear the folks that Tony spoke to. Right. So while some really did feel that they had a purpose.
They take it seriously.
You know, you can't looky-loos, as we like to call them, you know, for running everywhere. Yeah. But when you said about the difference between having the video and not having the video, in the case of South Carolina and what we saw there in San Bernardino, in both cases, the victims both had records, you know? So if it comes down to he said, she said, the police are usually the word that wins. And when you have this type of evidence, this video evidence, it's a real game changer, would you say?
It is definitely a game changer. You know, a lot of times what you'll hear from the police, and I'm not hating on police officers, they have a hard job to do too, but we always hear this excuse of, I was in fear of my life, right? And once that excuse is put out there, it almost justifies any actions that have been taken. But now when you have video that shows differently, especially in the Walter Scott situation, you cannot believe that. And so, you know, I think that in 2015, one of the things that we have to be really mindful of, and that's just civilians and law enforcement officers, is that everyone has a camera. Mm-hmm. Everyone has a camera on their phone.
In the sky.
In the sky, on buildings,
yeah.
And people are not afraid to film things. You know?
Well, I think the folks in San Bernardino certainly learned that the hard way, right?
I think they did.
Jasmyne Cannick, thank you so much for your input. Appreciate it.
Thank you.